Thank you, Mirko. It's an honor and a pleasure for me to be here and to present you a vision for a wilder Europe. Let me start with a story from the field. This is Central Europe, this is Central Germany, this is an ex-military training area where we are trying together with partners to establish a new wilderness place. And we had some bad experts doing a monitoring there in this place, and they found an old tree, an old beech tree, nearly 200 years old. There was a hole in that tree, and there were some bats coming out of that tree. But they had really difficulties to count these bats. It needed 2 experts, several nights, and the final end, the number stood at 570 bats coming out of that single hole of that single tree. We don't have a lot of old trees, more than 200 years old in Germany. We don't have a lot of old growth forest at all. We don't have a lot of wilderness left in Germany. In Germany, the wilderness stands at 0.7% of the land surface. This is very little for one of the richest countries in the world. But the German government has set the goal to be 2% wilderness in 2020, as we already heard from Toby. So this is still a long way to go, not in time, but in area. This means that we will need 2 to 3 big national parks per year until 2020. There's no way we will get that. But nevertheless, there is this aim set in Germany. So I'm presenting here the vision for wilder Europe. And the subheading says, saving our wilderness, rewilding nature, and letting wildlife come back. Essential, and we have heard that several times in this morning as well, is natural processes. Natural processes are essential when we talk on wilderness and when we talk on biodiversity as well. We have a potential of rewilding. This is another project area of the Frankfurt Zoological Society together with the Brandenburg Wilderness Foundation. This is also ex-military training areas turned into wilderness. And this is another story and a picture from the field. This was taken just a few weeks ago in one of these places. This is only 60, 70 kilometers south of Berlin, a breeding pack of wolves. This is what we currently see in these new wild areas. So we have heard that several times, and therefore I can go very quickly through that. We see Europe in transition, and we see a very diverse development going on. We see land abandonment in some places, a rural exodus, but we see industrialization of agriculture, of forestry and fishery as well. We see big changes in land use in the context of climate change and renewable energy, especially in Central Europe. We have a broad and an excellent protected area system, as we already heard and have recognized, and we have seen the maps. Natura 2000 is unique on the global level. But nevertheless, we have still very few wilderness areas. We see some species recovery, which we have heard as well from Monica and others, but we still lost a lot of biodiversity. Sultan has explained us, amphibians, reptiles, insects, all the species depending on habitat, we are still losing out of biodiversity on the European scale. We see some rewilding activities. We see a growing potential for rewilding. We see more recognition in the society and decision makers, and this is all a positive development. But still, we have a lot of very intensive management going on in the protected areas, and conservation is still concentrating very much on cultivated land, especially in Central Europe. So there are lots of lessons Europe really can learn from the rest of the world. And this is why I'm really happy that we have people from really different continents here. And they can tell Europe really a number of lessons. Because outside Europe, conservation is intrinsically linked to wilderness protection. Just give you one example from our area where we are active since more than 60 years. This is Serengeti, this is Tanzania. And when you look what our partners there, Tanzania National Parks, have said, long time ago, nearly 20 years ago, they have said TANAPA will not seek to preserve natural systems as so frozen in a given point of time. They have recognized the changes of ecosystems. So there are lessons we can learn from Africa from Asia, from South America as well. Europe has still a long way to go. But there are also lessons Europe can teach. We have seen ecosystems can be restored, rewilding is possible, species can recover, and in all that, natural processes are essential. So we have that new vision for a wilder Europe. This vision has about 10 action points. Because we are short in time, I'm going through only 5 of these, but I will name you at least the other 5 as well. Essential, and we have heard that several times, but it couldn't be overemphasized, are natural processes. This is part of biodiversity protection. This is part of sustainability. So we need all native ecosystems represented in the protected area system in Europe. There are still some gaps here. We need wild populations, natural dispersal, we have seen the corridors, and we need large areas for these processes. And the land will take its will. This is what wilderness is about. And sometimes it will be even painful for local people to see how the area will be changing. This is from the Bavarian National Park, where the bark beetle took over and changed the forest dramatically. But a new forest is coming here. And this is another picture from Brandenburg, where fire is going into the forest, something we have really forgotten how forests and landscape will look like. So these are natural processes which we have to allow and which will change the world here in Europe as well. And then we have the big animals. We have seen some examples on that. The big predators, large herbivores, they play a critical role in functioning ecosystems. We have heard that they have a huge economical value, ecologically and economically. Especially we know that from Africa, but we have a potential here in Europe as well. We have to ensure the protection, and we have to allow a comeback of these great species. And we shouldn't forget about the still existing wilderness. We need much better protection. We are still losing old-growth forest in Romania, for example, locked down in a constant rate. So we lose out on the jewels out of the crown. And we have heard there are good examples for rewilding. There's abundant land, there's ex-military training areas, there's state and communal land where we really can have natural processes. And sometimes, in some places, we might need some active restoration, but in general, we can just let it go. We can't achieve what we want to achieve when we don't get really the strong backing of the public and the decision makers and the politicians. And therefore, we need public support. We have to reach out, and I very much hope that WILD10 also gives the message to the European community on all levels that it is important and essential to conserve and protect and develop wilderness. So these are, I would say, the most important 5 action points out of that vision for a wilder Europe. There are 5 more, so we have to make a business case for that. We need new stewardship, especially on land ownership as well. We need monitoring and research. We need new, clever, smart financial mechanism for that. And for sure, we need a leadership and a plan, and we have to follow all that. This is a vision for a wilder Europe. I have spoken here in the name of 9 organizations of the Fundación Catalunya, the Wilderness Foundation, essential in that process, the Rewilding Europe, Wild Wonders of Europe, Panparks, Deutsche Umwelthilfe, the John Muir Institute, and the Wildland Research Institute, and the Frankfurt Zoological Society. The vision is for all of us. It's for all of us to join in and to get that vision into reality. And this is why I dressed up so formally here, because I have already the fresh printed vision here, and I want to hand over that vision to 3 important people. This is Angelo Salzi, head of Unit of Life Nature. I've seen Galliano here, Galliano, Council of Europe, Head of Biodiversity Unit, and I would like to have here Ernesto Enkelin as well, from the World Commission of Protected Areas and IUCN. But I don't want to hand you over only paper. What I brought with me are a baton. So this is what you have when you're running and you hand it over to the next one. This is originally from the Hunsrück in Germany. This is where we want to see the next national park in less than 6 months' time. This is our message to Germany. This is from spruce and beech trees, the original trees from Germany. We took that all along into the plane. Nobody complained. So I want to give that to you as a message for a wilder Europe.
Biggest for the Commission, of course.
Watch out, huh?
Tenemos un trabajo sumamente importante. Hay que hacerlo. Muchas gracias.